Illumination series as well as the Yambani Chronicles. And I am joined once again by Andrea Rose Washington.
Hello.
She is the author of Adalithia, Elendil, and Almond Tree's Magic. There will be links to everybody's stuff in the description of this episode of this podcast if you're interested in our books and art. We are also joined by Jocelyn Short.
Hello.
She is a graphic artist and illustrator, concept artist. She does Bearers is a comic that she's working on currently, and we are all tensely awaiting the arrival of her stories. Thank you both for joining us again. Today we are going to talk the Netflix movie They Clone Tyrone, which Andrea suggested for us to discuss, which is an interesting creation. Got a lot of genres kind of just mixed all in the pot here.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
Black exploitation, ghetto mystery, conspiracy, comedy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on, Blueberry Bean? It's a weird take with starring John Boyega, Jamie Foxx, and Teyonah Parris, which we've seen in a bunch of other things. What did you guys think of this?
I thought it was great. I thought it was so good. I thought everybody was good in it. It was really good to see Jamie Foxx doing stuff again. Just it was so exciting, and like there were parts I wanted to cry because I was just like, I was like, oh man, stuff's hitting, but I loved it. It was truly fabulous.
I absolutely positively love this movie. It is officially a cult classic within my household. And by household I mean me. I will say, like, the first 15 minutes, I was just like, I thought this was a sci-fi. I was like, oh gosh, did they lie? Is it nothing like the whole trailer is going to be? And then within 20 minutes of watching it, was like, I officially love everything about this movie. It was like you said, Rod, it was comedy. It was conspiracy theorists. It was true conspiracy theorists, though. It was mystery. It was friendship. It was learning. It's like a coming of age story of accepting yourself. And then also it's just sort of self-hatred. There's so much wrapped up in this story, and it's very rare for a movie to hit all these different points and sort of do it in an organic way. So I just really loved this movie. I watched it 3 times in a row. The first time I watched it, just because I was like, what did I miss? I know I missed something. I need to see something else. And yeah, it was great. This is going on a list of movies I can watch all the way over without having to skip through anything. Wow. I like every single scene.
It's really good.
Hey, Blueberry Bean, lurk along. We don't mind lurkers that come check us out. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Yeah, this was like a ghetto Scooby-Doo with a pimp, dope boy, and a hooker. It's basically what this ended up being, when they were going down the rabbit hole. Spoiler alert, I already said that before, but spoiler alert, if you haven't seen They Clone Tyrone, you need to go check it out on Netflix. It's a very good movie, and we're talking about it, giving our thoughts. Jamie was kind of crazy. He was hilarious in his role as, I think it was Slick Charles was his name.
Yes, Slick Charles.
John Boyega was Fontaine, and there were some complaints about, I don't know why, his acting, that he was too flat, but I think he was playing the straight man of the crew. Jamie, was going to be funny the whole time. And the fact that we find out later that he is actually, both of them are clones.
Mm-hmm.
But since he wasn't 100% like the pure uncut, maybe that's why Fontaine is so flat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like it's because he was made to be a stereotypical guy who wants nothing else. Yeah. He doesn't want to leave the neighborhood. He only cares about the things that he cares about. And he was supposed to be the stereotype who never leaves the neighborhood, who never sees outside of the 4 blocks he was raised in or whatever. Yeah. And he's like, I definitely saw that, he was a one-tone type of person until the end, where he's just crap, I'm being exactly who they want me to be. So it's like he played into the stereotype that he was supposed to be. Someone who never left his neighborhood, someone who did not care about the outside world, who only focused on getting his money, getting his fix, lifting weights. And
who also had a special brand of brutality. I had noticed that the first time I watched it. Like the first scene that you see him in, he's like I think he not that he kills that guy, but just that he,
hits him with a car.
Hits him with a car.
Yeah.
With
and
it's a child in the car.
Yeah. So it's just a particular brand of hard that he operates in.
Yeah. How surprised were you guys? As surprised as I was when Kiefer Sutherland popped up?
So they had some great cameos, like quick little cameos. Even they had like speaking roles. And I was not expecting him to show up the way that he did. I was expecting there to be someone like him in charge of everything. Yeah. But I definitely wasn't expecting that actor to show up. I was like, oh, so they have money for this one. They pulled in some great people. I really liked his... It's always interesting to see a character play someone so rude so well. Because it's like, where are you pulling that, like... Where are you pulling from that well? Where is that well within you to be this person? Makes me always like side eye them, but at the same time, like, you did such a good job. I hate you so much because you did such a good job. Yeah.
Well, I think everybody's probably at least at one point in their life seen somebody that rude, so they can kind of emulate what they've seen. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily that's innate within them, but everybody's seen some jerks in their time, I believe.
Well, it reminds me of this behind the scenes from SNL where this guy had to play a racist character and he was a white guy and he was like apologizing to all of his like castmates. Like, I'm so sorry. So sorry. You know, I love you. And then like went into the whole racist tirade he was supposed to do. And like everyone was giving him a hard time. Like, so where did that come from? Huh? Yeah. And that just like when I see that scene with him, I'm just like, huh, Keith, where did that come from? Huh?
Yeah, I can see how that be awkward, especially working with a bunch of comedians who are going to key in on that. Like, that rolled up the tongue mighty comfortably right there. We didn't have to coach you on that one. Like,
yeah. I also love Yo-Yo. I loved her character in the sense that she was almost like the brains almost of the operation.
She was
not really like not all the way through, but for most of it, she was just like, we got to Nancy Drew this. We got to figure out what's going on. Like, she was ready to go to the newspaper about it. She was not going to. She was the only one who was truly at risk, and she did not care. She was like, this is wrong. This is completely wrong. What they're doing to our neighborhood, what they're doing to you guys is completely wrong. We need to stop it. And when Jamie's character and when Slick Charles and Fontaine were both just like, whatever, they win, washing our hands of this, she was like, no, even though she was the one that was quote unquote expendable.
It's very interesting because I think her character was like the first of the trio to like at least vocalize that she saw something else for herself, like for her future. She was talking about how she wanted to be an astronaut and stuff like that.
She wanted to go to Memphis and get out of where they were from.
Right. Yeah. I think she was the first person to kind of vocalize, like, yeah, I had dreams of that, when I was a kid. And I don't think any, like the other two, I don't think they had that, but she had,
no.
Yeah. So it makes sense that she was the one who was like first willing to bust the whole thing wide open, and be the woman with the plan.
So, and I will say, though, the one part where I was like, honey, what are you doing? When she walked up in the full trench coat, the hat over the wig, like, honey, I will say this is the one thing where Slick Charles was correct. They're not going to notice anything if they expect to see it. Like, you should have been a little bit more
hiding in plain sight.
Yes, hiding in plain sight. Because now you're sticking out like a sore thumb. Who in the ghetto walks around in a trench coat and a hat on over their wig, over their big old wig, honey, what are we doing? What, like, you've made so many smart decisions so much. You were the voice of reason, like, hey, we need to hide. Hey, we need to get out of here. We're outnumbered. We need to go tell people. We need to get the neighborhood involved. And then you go do that. You stick out and you do it in the broad daylight.
Mhm.
Broad daylight, honey. Like that, you had so many wins, but I need you to take this L.
When stories do stuff like that, where it's like I'm never sure if it's like yeah, her character is kind of a cartoon, so like it kind of makes sense that she would do this, but like, does it actually make sense for the story, or is it, like, was this actually part of the story for her to do this, like, but it didn't seem like she meant to get caught, so when stuff like that happens, I'm like, are they doing it just for humor's sake, character's sake, or like for the story?
Because to be honest, they could have just kidnapped her off the street because they said she was expendable. So like, I feel like we didn't need the scene of her trying to do that in that outfit. She could have just been walking down the street and they took her and found the package in like her bag. They didn't have to wear the outfits. Like, come on, honey, why are we role playing? What's going on?
A lot of this, I think, wouldn't have been as funny, but it makes it funnier because all of it's so close to home when you get into kind of some of the control conspiracy theories, and kind of makes it almost dangerous because people that kind of go off the rail with conspiracy theories will see this. Some people gonna be like, "See, I told you they put it in the chicken, they put it in the hair relaxer, everything in control and all." It's like, come on, man. It's like, but things like this kind of, I'm like, okay, it's feasible. Some things you may say that are really crazy and out of control, but then sometimes because of things in this country have gone on like that, like the Tuskegee experiments and other things that the government has admitted to, then is this really that far of a stretch that they would be putting chemicals and everything? You think about the fluoride in our water in certain places that have horrible water altogether. This kind of almost it teeters on that line of what it's saying, and so I think a lot of people are going to run with it.
Yeah, the whole story gave me chills a lot of times because I was just like you said, it mirrors real life closely, and honestly, it's kind of timely that we're talking about this particular movie after the whole Montgomery, Alabama fight happened, where like we kind of it like that whole thing to me symbolized us kind of breaking out of the paradigm of like just watching each other be brutalized and not hopping in to do anything about it because we already feel hopeless, and us jumping in was like, no more. No, not today, not this time. No.
And that's probably one of the least realistic things, and probably the reason why the code won't be broken, because I don't foresee a large enough group banding together, like especially enemies in different hoods, all deciding to work together to crack this case. I'm like,
It's happened before, though.
It's happened before.
I mean, it started out that way, technically.
But it's more of, we can hate each other. It's like, this is our home and we can hate each other. And it's like, I can talk crap about my brother all day, every day. I can call him any name under the sun, but you can't. And the moment you do, I'm going to have to fight you now, because like, no, my brother can say whatever he wants about me. I can say whatever I want about him, because like, this is our house. We're a family. This is our thing. But when someone from the outside comes in and starts like antagonizing us, and you're taking our people, you're taking people from our neighborhood, it's like, all right, I don't like you. You don't like me. But at this moment, we have a common enemy. And so we're just going to take out the common enemy. And then like, hey, tomorrow, let's run back to where we were. But like, it's like, this is our neighborhood. This is where we're from. You don't mess with people within our neighborhood. Only we can. Because like, we have that right to. Outside people, nah, you can't come in and do that. I
don't think everybody's gonna buy in like that.
Oh, everyone's not. Everyone's not. No, like,
they never have. Like all of us collectively together at once never have. But
there will be. I do think it is believable that there will be people on both sides. Going in to help. To the extent where it was funny seeing him on top of in the car in the like yelling how the whole he has the entire neighborhood. We brought everyone together for this, and it was just really funny because there are moments where we do come together.
Yeah, for sure.
I also feel like if a charismatic pimp told me what was going down, I probably would follow him to wherever he told me to go. So
Wait.
Don't say that again. Did you see Rod's
That's what it's
face?
gonna take a charismatic pimp. You heard it here first.
not everywhere under the sun, but I mean, if and he told me who he already had with him,
I need to see it verbally. I need to see it physically with my eyes.
Right. Just
like
an
who's with him.
Right.
Like,
an addendum to my statement. I'm not just gonna blindly follow a charismatic pimp to wherever he going. All right. That's not what I'm talking about. This is not what's going on. This is not what we're gonna do.
I don't need to slow down. I need to listen faster. You know what I'm saying?
I have to say, one thing I really loved about this movie was how Black it was, in the sense that I can tell, like, this was written by a Black person. This was for Black people. This was our experience, our words, our jokes. It was so much fun watching this movie, because I'll be honest, I don't watch anything that falls in the genre that I call Black trauma porn. I don't watch any of it because I don't like seeing where, like, our race is the reason why we're being in trouble. Like, if we're hurt or if someone's hunting us, I don't want it to be because of our race. I hate watching movies, reading books, ingesting any type of content where the person who is the main character, who is Black, is getting all these issues because of the fact that they are solely Black. And I will admit, that's why in the first 15 minutes of this movie, I was just like, oh, what type of movie is this? Is this going to be a, like, Black pain movie? Like, am I going to have to, like, really feel bad as I watch this movie? And they did this in such a Black joy way where technically it's not, because they are being experimented on. They are being kidnapped off the streets. They are being ingested with these drugs that make them happy and music that makes them like zombies. But at the end of the day, it was like a Black joy movie. And I really
feel like they should have mistitled it. Like, I feel like the title gives too much away just because of that mysterious part. So you don't know. Like, if we came into this not knowing there was any sci-fi element to it at all, and it was titled something else, nothing about clones, and you just get surprised as they slip into different subgenres as the movie goes along. I think that would have been cool. I mean, it was still very well done. I just almost think like the title gives a bit away, so it takes away a bit of that surprise of what you're actually getting versus what you think you're getting when you, like you said, the first 15 minutes, you're like, oh, this is going to just be some ghetto story about dudes trying to get out the hood. Or
I will say, I do think it was like, you have the title, They Clone Tyrone, and then you have the first 15 minutes of the movie. And for the first 15 minutes, I was like, we don't have a plot yet.
Yeah.
But it felt like I knew we were still in for it. Like, it felt like Atlanta. It felt like Black surrealism. And so I was like, okay. And to me, that is the misdirection. Like, the title, it was the title, but then the first 15 minutes were like, we need to build you up, which I appreciated. I was like, all right, I'm interested. Like, I could tell we're getting bits and pieces of what is meant to come together probably at the 30-minute, 45-minute mark. So,
and we don't even see Tyrone until the mid-credit movie scene.
Oh my God. And then the song in the credits.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was hilarious.
Oh my God.
But to go back to what you said, Jocelyn, about the 15 minutes, I will admit, I almost turned it off after the shooting scene, and he's in the car trying to, like, get away, and the guy gets up. I was just like, nope, I don't want this in my soul. And then I thought I pushed pause, and I left the room to, like, go get something else to drink. And then I came back, and I was like, wait, did the movie restart? Like, how is he still alive? And that's how I kept watching it, because literally the first 15 minutes, my stress and my emotional meter of, like, seeing us being killed on camera, I was just like, I'm not watching this movie. And I literally thought I pressed pause, and I was like, I'm gonna go get something to drink, because I was watching it during the workday and I was working from home. I was like, I'm gonna go get, like, another cup of coffee or something. And I came back and it was running, and then I saw that Fontaine was alive again. And Jamie Foxx's character was just like, you were just here yesterday and you were just shot. Like, how are you alive? And I was like, Oh, okay. So then I had like to rewind a bit, but I'm glad I stuck through it because at first I was just like, I'm not gonna watch this. I don't want to watch us be killed on camera. I just can't do it. Not for like something that's supposed to be entertainment. No,
I get it. Stuff like that is becoming increasingly upsetting for me as I get older. Like, I don't know if you guys saw, and I won't get too far off track with this, but I don't know if you guys saw Swarm, the Amazon show that Donald Glover made. Well, there's a death in there that just oh my god, there was a death in there that upset me, and I didn't expect to be upset by it, but it really upset me because I just didn't expect to see it, and now I'm just kind of like, man, I don't really I don't want to see this anymore. You know. So.
I'm glad this movie was not like that because I went in thinking it was going to be like an uber sci-fi type movie. First 15 minutes, like, oh, this is not that. And then the rest of it was such a unique take that I was like, I'm glad I didn't hit pause when I thought I did.
Yeah. So sometimes you get gems like that. I like that when they can kind of surprise you. It's not your everyday spacefaring sci-fi flick, but it's street level sci-fi in a particular hood that can be extrapolated out across, because they left this open for them to go and have this like ghetto Scooby-Doo capers because they're going to Tennessee after. It drills into a lot of what's actually going on in society about how neighborhoods are controlled, and realistically, a lot of the people that live in neighborhoods don't control how the neighborhoods go, how the zoning laws are, what businesses can and can't be in there. So like a lot of people blame people that live in the ghettos for it being the ghetto, but they're not the ones that made the ghetto. Like,
yeah, the part that like gave me, or one of the parts that gave me chills and like upset me was just like when the white guy came in and basically explained, you know, kind of what was going on, and that their neighborhood was the control for the great experiment that is America, for it to keep its kind of homeostasis. And I was just like,
yeah, the neighborhood was kind of controlled, but I also thought Fontaine, otherwise Tyrone, that was part of the control, because he was, and probably Jamie Foxx's character too, because there were two of the control items that remained the same, variables that were the same in various hoods across the way, but doing similar things. Like, I think it started in their neighborhood where they were, and then they just spread it across the country. I didn't get the monologue with John Boyega's older version, where he was talking about assimilation is better than annihilation. He was just going to make everybody white. And I was like,
so that I may have misspoke earlier. That's probably the only part I fast forward through now.
You fast forward?
After I watched it the first time, that probably is the point. I think I've like erased it from my brain because I just don't listen to that character speak anymore. I like focus on what Fontaine is saying in that scene. After that, the first time I watched it, that was representing like, please don't hate me for saying this, people, but like the community of us that hate ourselves for being Black, or who will always find fault with Black actions, even if we're not the ones who caused it, even if we're just defending ourselves. And you see this with the Montgomery Brawl, and people are like, oh, I can't believe those people acted like that. They saw one man getting jumped. Like, what did you expect them to do? And like his response, older Tyrone's response, the older guy, Chester, I think his name was. He was like self-hating instead of trying to make a change just how people view Black people. Instead of saying, hey, my brother shouldn't have been killed over a freaking candy bar, he's almost blaming his brother for being Black and stealing a candy bar.
Yeah.
And it's just like
kind of a missed opportunity to me, because I thought they should have went the opposite way, which would have been funnier and probably for a certain audience worse. But I think they should have went the other way. If you're going to assimilate the other way, because let's make us all brown people and see what happens.
Okay, I was like, wait, what do you mean the opposite way? Okay, yes, no, yeah. It would have made more sense for his genius to be used that way, to be like, I wanted to make them all like us, so we were never in fear.
Yeah, I viewed kind of his monologue and his essentially poor solution as like, you know, there are like smart people who have very poor insight on the issues that they try to enact, with their scientific knowledge and their level of intelligence. And a lot of times people like that, it's like they're so smart that they forget their own humanity and and other people's humanity. And it just felt like another example of that, but like in black.
Yes.
So,
That sounds a little, not to be funny, Ben Carson-ish.
yeah. Yeah. And so it's upsetting because it's like, you watch it in a movie and it's like obviously a poor solution, but it's like also very realistic for I mean, not that actually necessarily
Yeah.
happening exactly that way, but like how someone can formulate that conclusion, like this is obviously what it has to be in order for Black people to have peace here and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, where are you, man? Like, what? Where have you gone? Where are you? So,
do y'all remember the only part in the movie where Fontaine smiled?
Was it when he was
eating
chicken?
The chicken?
Yeah. Oh, did y'all know the backstory behind that?
What?
So during that scene, the actress who plays Yo-Yo,
Taylor,
yes, her and John were in the interview. No, it was her and John. They were in the interview like before like the whole strike happened, explaining the movie. It's like there was a scene where it was the chicken, where they were eating the chicken, and they had shot that so many times. And she was like, her and Jamie were just like, yeah, this chicken's cold because it's been sitting out all day, but you have to film it so many times. But John was just tearing into his chicken, and we didn't understand why, because he had fresh chicken delivered for each scene.
I saw that.
So he was eating hot, fresh, fried chicken while they were eating the.
oh, that's dirty.
And they're like, you couldn't share?
Oh my gosh. I also want to kind of point out, this is aside from the chicken scene, but I wanted to point out, like John Boyega's character in this movie. I felt it just was like it very apropos that he played this role, because I feel like this character arc in this particular movie was what he expected the arc that he was meant to play in Star Wars, like kind of what it was supposed to be. And I just felt like it was very apropos that this character that he played in this movie, he got to live that out.
Reclaim himself, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do like I'm going to be super honest. I don't actually remember his character in Star Wars.
That's okay. I mean, honestly, the whole thing was disappointing for everybody involved. Fans.
It was a huge bait and switch, basically, with him because of all the marketing that they put up that he was going to be a Jedi. He was a stormtrooper gone bad, a stormtrooper that basically broke out of being a stormtrooper. And then he wasn't even, in the last film, he wasn't even unique within the universe because they found another one just like him, but she was female and possibly Lando's daughter. So his story wasn't even unique within the story. But yeah, he does get to break out of his shell as one of the clones of Tyrone. What do you guys think about the code word that they had to put the clones under mind control? Like,
what was it again?
You mean like the words itself, or just the fact that there was a code word?
The fact that there was one.
That it's something I think that's needed, like quote unquote, like it's awful, but it's like, you're still my creations. Like, you're not human, so I can still stop you if you want to rebel against me. So it's like a necessary evil, but it was still awful.
I don't know if you guys have played BioShock or know about BioShock, but it reminded me of, okay, so do you ever intend to play BioShock?
No.
Okay, so in one of the biggest, the kind of plot twist in BioShock is that, spoiler for anybody who hasn't played it, but It's the plot twist is that your main character is under mind control, and he's under mind control by a term that's being used by the guy who's in your ear, kind of communicating all of like how you get through all the stuff you're navigating through. And he uses a phrase called "would you kindly" in order to keep you under control. So every time he gives you a directive, he adds "would you kindly" to it, and that keeps him under control. And it like that reminded me, like as soon as I saw that in the movie, I was like, it's Bioshock.
Oh, I had a thought and I lost it. No. Oh, when they were in the church, I love Mr. Charles was just like, I haven't been in church in a while, but something does not seem right.
Yeah, like this ain't the church I went to. I don't know what they're doing. We ain't do this at church. Wasn't that David Allen Greer?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was a clone too.
Yeah.
It was like all the black hot spots were actual entries into like the underground world. And so it's just like it's like they're going to get you no matter where you were. If you went to church, they were going to get you. If you were at the strip club, they were going to get you. When you're getting your hair done, they had the creamy crack. If you were at the liquor store, they were going to get you.
The whole
if you were listening to the radio, not in any of those places, they were going to have the radio control.
They were going to get you.
The whole thing was so upsetting because, like you, of course, like we've been saying, it mirrored real life, but so much so in the way where just like even the spaces that we create that are supposed to be for us in our sanctuaries have become characterized in not characterized, what's the word? That have been turned into caricatures, for other races and white people to access and infiltrate, and that made me very upset. I mean, it just was upsetting.
This movie was inherently black. Like that's what it was. It was a story for us by us. And I feel like there's things in here. I feel like it would be entertained. Anyone who watches it will be entertained, but us as black people watching it, it was just more of just like, yeah, see, we're not all crazy. Like, is it to this extent? No. But like, is there stuff going on behind the scenes? Yes, absolutely. It was watching a movie and understanding every joke, every little side thing, seeing how it was throwing back to like how we were made to fight for entertainment for other people, how different music was controlling us, how rap music was like making us all fighting, and they would change the music and the guys would hug it out. Subliminal messages
when they went underground and had those two brothers in there just fighting each other and switch it up, and they were like, "Oh, I'm like, whoa,
so scary. I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. I mean, it was so good. I was just like,
and that's someone who was a part of the Creamy Crack Nation, because she does not do her natural hair like that. Honestly. Seeing them like put the perm in and then their entire thought change, or like they become like dulled and like stop complaining about things that they have a right to complain about. It was like, are we going natural soon?
That was hilarious, especially how Yo-Yo escapes when they don't recognize that's not her hair. She got a wig on. They're rubbing the creamy crack.
Perfect. So perfect.
Like, what?
I forgot that one moment, and I was like, "No, yeah." I was like, "Wait, that's."
I know. I was so scared.
I was like, "Oh, wait, that's the wig." And it's like our inside things that we know about each other, even how we can't take anything serious. You had Fontaine's, one of his friends, sitting down there, feet up on the desk, calling people. Oh yeah, we down here in the underground.
Hey, pull up.
Yeah. And it's just like we don't take anything serious, but we take everything serious. It's like we can make a joke out of anything. But at the same time, it's like only we can do that. Like only we have like the ability to take something that is a very serious, very scary, very traumatic experience for some people and just be like, people are selling chairs as like weapons. Now. Like we don't take anything serious, but at the same time, yes, we do.
Yeah, I feel like that is precisely why Black people are directly magical. We are not camp, but we are able to take everything, every subject, and turn it into camp. And it's incredible. We are able to take trauma and tragedy and turn it into camp, like real hardcore stuff and just turn it into nonsense.
Find a way to laugh and just be like, what are we like this was actually very traumatic and scary. What are we laughing about?
We got problems. We got problems. We got to figure it out. But in the meantime, this is what we get. They clone Tyrone. You know what I'm saying?
And I will say, go ahead, Ron.
Go ahead.
I will say, I did, even though the entire movie, I was like, why are they calling this Tyrone? Like, why did we clone Tyrone? Until we get to the very last scene, and then we see this other version of Fontaine, this name is Tyrone, and he has basically the same exact daily process. He tries to talk to his mom, who is not there, which that is a side conversation we will have in a moment about the mother.
Non-existent mother.
Yes. About hanging out with his friends, smoking. Like, he basically was having the same exact life of his clone from across the country. And they're watching the news story. It was great seeing the community come and rally around, which is what we always do. Our community always rallies around our people when we really need it. And it's like, oh, crap, you're a clone. And just to find out that you're a clone from watching a television show, from watching a news story, it's like, oh, they cloned Tyrone. And there's like, this entire movie was set up for this one line, for this one scene.
It was meta.
And I did like it, but at the same time, it's like, y'all made me wait this entire movie for this. But at the same time,
the punchline. He even had the same wino that he poured a little bit of his 40 out into a cup that was waiting outside the convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice, the wino always has some, even though he was kind of crazy, he had something that there was some truth to everything he said.
I loved him. I loved him. I loved his character in this movie. I love when any story has a character like that is meant to.
Because it seemed like he was saying like some random stuff until I think Fontaine figured out that it actually had some pertinence to the things that the random stuff that he would just yell out, "Hey, young brother, the truth will set you free," and he'd say something crazy, and he'd be like, seems like it has nothing to do with anything that's going on, and then he started thinking about like, yo, you're like, "Oh, gee, what did you just say?"
Mm-hmm.
And then he repeated, he continued. So yeah, that was interesting.
I have to say, the mom part broke me. That part broke me. Because like, it was after you're just told your life, you're just told you're a clone. You're told basically you're expendable. You're expensive, but we can just replace you with another one tomorrow. Like, you're a dime a dozen. It's sad, but it's like, I'm just going to live like it. Fine, whatever. I'm just going to do my thing, do my daily activities, whatever, keep to my agenda and keep it moving. And then to find out that like the woman, like his mom wasn't real. Yeah. And every day he would check on her. Like, he was still like a good son. Because he's like, "Hey, mama, do you want me to get you anything? Are you hungry?" Like, he checked on her every single day. Multiple times a day sometimes. So, no, I was out there. I was good. I'm good. And
I'm still full.
Yeah. And it's like, sometimes you have, like, in this day and age, in the house I live in, like, I could go all day without seeing one of my parents, because like, if we're all in the office or our bedroom with our door closed, it's like we're talking through the door, talking through text, and it's like you're sort of disconnected. You don't even realize you've never actually seen her in person, but you keep hearing her voice, so you think it's okay. And it's like, okay, until like you actually try to get into those, let me in, let me in, let me in, let me see you, let me see you. And I have to say, I maybe slightly dead inside Andrea might have teared up a bit.
Uh-huh.
That scene actually broke me. I was like, I felt so bad, because it was showing that he did have emotions. It was saying that he wasn't just a carbon copy there for someone else's experiments. Like, he had feelings, and he loved his mom that he thought was real, and to find out everything in his life is a lie. Everything. Like, he literally has no other connections like on this earth, really. And yeah, no, I almost cried. I really did. I teared up. I was like, oh my God, please. No, she has to be real. She has to be real.
The whole thing was deeply traumatic. I mean, can you imagine, like, you have all of these emotions, well, not emotions necessarily, but like memories of stuff that is supposed to be your life. And, and if it all feels real, like you've experienced it, and then you find out it is a simulation, really, like, I felt bad for everybody. I felt bad when Jamie Foxx's character found out he was a clone. You know, I was just like, man, his world is shattered. You know, because he thinks he's on top of whatever he's got going on, and you know,
He was the pimp of the year in 1990.
yeah, he's like, is that
was fake. He knew that was fake. That's why he was like, I ain't never win the players ball, did I? I was like,
no, I was saying that was his thing. He always said I was a player or pimp or whatever the thing was of 1993. So like that was his thing to find out that wasn't even real.
Yeah. Because no one tells him that, but he finally admits it towards the end. He looks at oh boy, he's like, I didn't go to the players ball, did I? And they just kind of look at him. I don't think anybody even says anything to him. They just let that fall. What are we rating this?
I'd say a 10 out of 10. I would say it. I would watch it again and enjoy it and all of that.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I gotta agree. Even though there is a scene that I just don't like, it's the self-hating part. Yeah. I still watch this movie from start to finish, and I do not get bored of any scene. It is enjoyable. It's being downloaded to live forever on my phone.
I do.
I give it a 9 only because of what you stated, because I felt they should have twisted that last screw and had him go the opposite way.
Okay. Yeah, I will say, like, whenever Black stories have antagonists like that, I am always curious, like, is this like a failure of imagination, or is it just this is what's closest to reality, and so we're gonna write it in here, you know? Because like you see villains like this, and it's like, yeah, okay, I get your reasoning, but it's kind of poor reasoning. So it's just like, could we have done better here, you know? Or
I
just
think it was safest not to go the opposite way, and maybe they weren't willing to risk the potential backlash they would have gotten from it. But I think it would have been something new. It would have been something a lot of us would have reveled in, and a lot of the opposite side would have been mad about. But hey, we've been dealing with this for however many years. That we've got
not even a movie for them, so like they really could have took the chance.
Yeah, this was for us. This was for us in every facet, and it's very rare for me, at least, because again, I don't like watching any type of black trauma. It's just can't do it. I almost couldn't watch the music video "This Is America" because I was like, I didn't want to see certain stuff. So like the fact that I enjoyed it so much, now that I understand like the whole pieces of it, I'm like, this was very shocking. And it was, I feel like the reason I'm giving it a 10, because even though I do agree it would have been more interesting if they had went the opposite direction, I feel like they showed so many different facets of a stereotypical or typical Black life, from us being at having our favorite food spots, having the ones who hate themselves for being Black, having the ones who are just like, we're never going to get out the hood, having the ones who want to aspire to do better. You have the people in the church who are just like, I'm trying to live holy. I want to be in my hair salon. So they show so many different facets of our lives, even though it was exaggerated in a lot of parts. Yeah. I like that they showed all sides of us, not just one side, or not all, but they showed a lot of sides of us, not just one side. We all weren't the same carbon copy type of token best friend.
Yeah,
like
we all grounded. It was grounded with just a touch of sensationalism, enough to keep me interested, and the relatability of all the things kind of mixed in is what kind of kept me rolling through it.
What did you guys think of the ending where the Fontaine shows back up and his life is started all the way back over again? What did you guys think about that?
It gave me like Groundhog's Day vibe. Like, now it may come in the question of, did they solve it?
Yeah.
Or was it all in his head? And that's another kind of twist that could be taken there. So I don't know if like you said, he wakes up and he starts his life over just as he had however many days before in a row. Did the stuff that happened prior actually happen? Or was that all some drug-induced dream that he had?
Do you mean the Fontaine that they tied up in the hotel room, or the one at the end who was shot, who killed the older version of himself, the original version of himself?
The one at the very end, like right before the credits.
Oh, the Tyrone?
Mm-hmm. Oh, is his okay? Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't really know what to expect from him.
Yeah.
I will say, huh?
No, you go ahead.
I will say the other three going to like Tennessee, Slick Charles Fontaine and Yo Yo, that gave me. If you've ever watched the movie Guns Akimbo with Daniel Radcliffe, and it like the ending is like he's going about now to like take down all the other cells, and it's like I feel like that's what they're doing. Like that's what they're gonna do. I feel like this one.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But with Tyrone, I feel like it could either go, man, I'm a clone and nothing ever happens, or like he's gonna look more into it and try and be like and try and figure out what's going on. Like where is that version of the underground here? Let's find it. Let's stop to it. Because how many more people in this neighborhood are also a clone?
Yeah, it scared me a lot because I thought, everything had been busted wide open. I thought they killed all of the clones, and I was very disturbed to see that everything in Fontaine/Tyrone's house had been the same as it was, and I was like, well, where is this? Like, is this just a repeat kind of neighborhood of this? Is it another copy of the same exact neighborhood that they've replicated somewhere else?
Well, Tyrone, I think, was in LA.
Yeah, Tyrone's in LA.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You can barely see his clothes, the music changed, the scenery. And
yeah, he was in LA.
He was in LA, and oh boy, the original that they cloned him from was saying in the hood, suburbs, and barrios. And barrio means valley in Spanish, which I know that's what they out in Cali. That's what they call their hoods. They're in the barrio. So yeah, he was in LA. Okay. So they had the same thing going on out there. That I think I'm with you, Andrea. I think they're going to have their, like I said, my ghetto Scooby-Doo adventures. They're going to leave to Memphis and start. Let's see what else we can find on the trail.
Gotcha.
And I do have to say, Jamie Foxx has had a habit of making these movies on Netflix that make me want a sequel, but at the same time, I don't want a sequel. Because like sometimes sequels don't always live up to the original, and they just cause sometimes more problems. Yeah. But this is like his third or fourth movie on Netflix where I wanted a sequel from because like it's such an open source world where you do have technically material for another movie. They're going into another town to put something else down, but at the same time, it's just like,
sometimes
is the story going to be as good the second time around?
Sometimes
or you can even localize it. Like we go to LA and we get with Tyrone and see how he comes out of the situation. But again, like you said, they're going to have to change it up enough where the viewers feel it's worth watching another one of these. Right. And how much different can you make it just because you changed location?
That's what I'm saying. Like sometimes you want interludes to movies instead of full sequels. Not even like a series. Sometimes you just like want one 30-minute thing that will give you some info for like a follow-up for this movie you just watched. Because like there's still potential for more stuff, but like is it enough for like a whole thing?
Yeah. So. Or is it just set in the same universe? Because I will say, Jamie Foxx there's not many movies where I'm like, okay, cool, I'll take a sequel off of that. Because like, no, the story's sort of always wrapped up in a bow. And I prefer stories when it's not wrapped up in a bow because it does lend my imagination like, oh, what could happen? And these movies on Netflix with him have been a lot of open-ended movies where the initial issue is solved, but there's still issues and people out there who, hey, there's still a story that could be told on another continent in the same universe. So I would like to see something else from this universe. Maybe not the same three characters, but I would like to see what else happens. Maybe other people figure out they're cloned, and that it could be someone completely different than Tyrone, but it could be another character who was maybe in the first movie cloned in another one. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, how you do it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say what I guess hope for and don't hope for is like the multiverse kind of concept is becoming played out And so I kind of don't want it to go this way.
Yeah.
There's potential for it to go that way. I don't want it to go that way. So
oh, you know, not multiverse. Definitely not multiverse.
not multiverse, but like even a subset of multiverse, which is just like, you know, this kind of concept. Like, yeah, we've got clones, but they're in different locations, and so
Yeah, it's kind of a mini. It's kind of already a mini multiverse. It's just different neighborhoods with the same. Because you have this, for whatever reason, we have like 4 or 5 casts of clones that we have in every like city where they had this experiment going, and they're trying to spread it to other parts of the country.
you know what, I will say, if they do choose to, you know, make this like a full thing, like either a trilogy or like a full on, you know, series or anthology or whatever, I just hope they have the ending figured out. I just don't want it to go off the rails because this kind of thing has strong potential to go off the rails. That's all.
They don't want to get sequel baited to death
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over and over.
I mean, I love the Fast movies, but and I have seen all of them in theaters because I always will.
Hey, we have to have a watch session. I told you I only seen one, and guess which one?
I think I blocked that out of my head because I want to say Friends. But like, yeah, I get it. Sometimes just like, look, you went to space. What else can you do? Yeah. Let this die. Not every book needs 8 books in the series. Sometimes 3 is enough. Just tell the story and it's over.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for chopping it up with me about these things. Blueberry Bean and the other lurker that was on the live, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to us chop it up about these things. As I said, the Askari cast, you can find this podcast on Spotify. We need more followers on Spotify. And there will be links in the description for everybody here's website, so you can go check out our other creative endeavors in addition to us talking about these geeky things. We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you again next week.
See ya.